Meeting to order. I'd like to remind everyone at this time to please turn off your cell phones. Clerk, could you please take roll call?
Sure. First, I'll read the adequate notice, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. Thank you.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press on December 20th, 2013. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspapers, posted on public bulletin boards in the Township website. Councilman Moore. Councilwoman DeYoung.
Here.
Councilman Mumolo.
Here.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Here.
Vice President Fosman.
Here.
President Leidecker.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Girl Scout Troop 892. They're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening with their troop leaders Connie Klemek and Nicole Nastasi. You can take down the microphone and hand it to the ladies.
I pledge allegiance to the flag and the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please remain standing for our moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. You may take your seat. This evening, we do have a guest speaker from the Mayor's Advisory Committee for Renewable Energy. Our chairman is here. His name is John Hyphantis. Would you please come up?
John Hyphantis, 37 North Sailors Quay Drive, and that is a tough act to follow. I'll read a brief statement, try to be brief, and then be gone. Mayor's Advisory Committee for Renewable Energy, MACRE we call it, was established by the mayor in January 2008. Current members are residents and representatives from the administration and other committees. We have experience, we bring it to the table, we invite suppliers, vendors, individuals to make presentations, and if the presentation fits the criteria of our mission statement, we report back to the mayor. We meet twice a month. Projects we have done are the wind turbine at Drum Point Sports Complex, the solar array in this building, array at the former French landfill site on Sally Ike Road, which is close to completion, I believe. We did an audit of this building, installed equipment, and saved about 15% of energy savings last year and excuse me, previous year. The solar hot water at Brick Beach 1. We streamlined the recycling schedule, and we also have a education enforcement of the no idling policy for the diesel vehicles for DPW. All projects don't work out. We tried a project to reduce the electrical demand at the Drum Point Sports Complex. Unfortunately, the lights don't operate long enough to generate a decent payback, and all that project may come to life again. It didn't work out. We also looked at biofuel for the trucks. We found that acquiring and storing biofuel was very, very costly. So that didn't work out either. We have another mission, which is to be, and we are, the green team for brick. That was part of our resolution and we were first established. There is a program called Sustainable New Jersey. It's run by the College of New Jersey, and it's a program where you can apply for certification for projects that meet their 125 criteria. You can pick any one of 3 to 5 in one category and 10 in the other categories. We are currently uploading our project information into their website. We believe we have enough to qualify for bronze certification right now. That program has, as of December of 2013, 399 municipalities have registered out of the 600 or so in the state. 143 have been certified, and 121 of those are bronze. We think we have enough to do bronze certification. We have to file by no later than June of 2014. We're on our way. We have met with the Environmental Commission. We're meeting with the Parks and Recreation Commission next week to find out what ideas they have to add to our mission. We have submitted forms to have a free energy audit performed at the DPW building on, we're waiting for approval from the state on that, I think. Is that true, Mr. Pizarros?
That is correct.
Oh, good, good. Now, there is also a program called Sustainable for New Jersey Schools that is administered by the New Jersey School Boards Association. It is kicking off in the summer of this year, and the school board folks have decided they're going to sign up and be on board for that program. As we find out more, we'll report back to you what that program criteria are. And of course, we have the 4th annual Green Fair, scheduled for, I think, September of this year. That's one of the criteria that the certification process requires you have every year. It's been a success for the last 3 years. We're hoping to expand it for this year. So finally, any green initiatives, whether through our committee or individual, if they meet the criteria of being cost-effective and intelligent, we're going to consider them. We're open to suggestions from anyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I should ask any Q&A before I leave.
I do have one question.
Sure.
I am part of the committee myself. It's very near and dear to me, and we asked you here today so you can update the new council members on the projects that you're currently working on and things that we have accomplished as well over the years. You said that, well, we know that if, once we meet the bronze, we would be able to apply for grants. What kind of grants? Would it be to retrofit our buildings, maybe make bike trails?
It depends on the criteria. There are some grants available for developing programs to meet those criteria. There are no grants that I'm aware of that are awards for doing it, but they'll help you get there by giving you money to do studies, surveys, research to meet one of their goals.
Okay.
That's part of the criteria. Now, there are 2 webinars taking place this month that I think Janine's going to attend because I'll be away, on how to apply for and meet the criteria for the June deadline. So we are working on it.
Thank you very much. Does our mayor have any questions?
Yes. Thank you. I just want to point out that I have a 100-day plan that I introduced on January 1st, and it's found on our website. And just to point out, number 31 of the 100-day plan is to work to obtain certification with Sustainable New Jersey, which will qualify BRIC to receive the grant funding. So I just want to, thank you guys for all your efforts in getting us there. And I just appointed you as chair again of the committee, and I'm happy that you.
Gee, I thought you liked me.
Yep. I'm happy you have the time and the energy and everything to be able to chair the committee, because it is a very important committee for our town. Thanks.
Now, previous to this, we had only Tara doing our uploading, and she was, I was going to say, flooded with work from Sandy. That's very poor. I'm sorry I said that. Anyhow, she has allowed myself and Janine and Michael Fowler to upload information into the Sustainable website now, so we'll have more access to and take some of the burden off of her to get some of this information put into the system. So thanks for that help.
Thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you very much for coming this evening. Moving on to the consent agenda, all matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is desired on any item, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Do any council members have anything they'd like to remove from the agenda? No. Seeing none, moving on. Resolution 1. What this resolution does is authorize the payment of the Township of Brick to pay our 2014 debt service. The amount to be appropriated in our 2014 budget is $16,101,013. That is principal and interest payments. Any questions from the council on this to our business administrator? Resolution 2, authorize budget appropriation transfers. This resolution allows the moving of money from one account to another within the 2013 budget. Resolution 3, what this resolution does is it gives our petty cash back to our treasurer to be accounted for. They balance the receipts, and then it'll move the money back into these accounts. The assistant township clerk has a $500 petty cash fund. Our senior clerk in the police department is $200. The director of public works is $200. The land use and community development is $100, and the parks department are $200 as well. Resolution 4. This designates the public agency compliance officers, who is Ms. Mary Ann Jasinski, who is our purchasing agent. The public agency compliance officer's position allows her to make sure that we are compliant with all of our public law contracts. Resolution 5, what this actually does is allow the public compliance officer to enter into the public contracts and state contracts. Resolution 6 authorizes the shared service agreement with the county for the 2004 pump-out boating season. There are 2 boats that we will be utilizing. The county will contribute $20,000 per boat for a total of $40,000 to maintain them. This covers our fueling, the berthing of the boat, and it pays the township seasonal employee as well. To date, over 1 million gallons of waste has been pumped out under this program from about 46,000 vessels that have otherwise been discharged directly into the bay. Any questions on the boat program from council? Resolution 7, this is a change order for a final. It decreases the total by $8,348.29. The decrease is due to less brick, less pavement, less asphalt, less fuel, and less milling to complete the roads project. Resolution 8 authorizes the rejection of bids for the subcode officials and subcontractors. We had mailed out 7 prospective bids. 2 bids were received. 1 bid was thrown out based on the opinion of our construction official. Their paperwork wasn't complete. The company that had the 1 bid still available was not able to handle the workload. We have about 1,500 permits per month. They handle about 300 per month. Resolution 9 designates an agent for the taxing district for the Ocean County Board of Taxation. What this resolution does is it designates the tax assessor and the township attorney to file tax appeals and settle tax appeal matters. And Resolution 10, there is $31,007.69 remaining in the engineering inspection fund from the Stop and Shop supermarket. And they are just asking for that money back, and our township engineer has deemed the project complete, so we should be releasing that money. Are there any questions from the council on any of the resolutions? Okay. At this time, I'd like a motion and a second for the end of the consent agenda.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
The motion made by Councilman Bosman, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung.
It'll take you a while.
It's going to take me a few meetings, but I'll get it, as long as I get your name right. At this time, I'd like to open to the public for any questions. Yes, Ms. Call.
Van Call, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. Before I say anything, I want to congratulate you, Madam President. It is wonderful having a Madam President. There is only 1 member of the council whom I have not met prior to today. I welcome you as I welcomed everyone else, and you have all my support. I have not personally met, I believe that's Kevin Starkey sitting there. Knew your father well. I hope he respected me, and I will respect you. And I'm sorry to start off, but on a note of one of my bugaboos. That is the use of this consent agenda, which was instituted by the Republicans. And it was used to suppress resident input. No question about it. I was a card-carrying member. I don't carry the card. I am a member of the party. You can check with the current attorney. My interpretation of Robert's rules on consent agenda, it is exactly supposed to be that. It is not used if there's a possibility that anything might be a no vote. And nothing should be predetermined until the full council as a body discusses the facts and everybody shares their thoughts. It can't always be an agreement. So I would suggest you go back to the idea of at least having a merged caucus public meeting. It would be one thing to discuss it, but there was not sufficient information on some of the items. Some there was. I feel there needed to be more information given on Resolution 4-1 about the debt service, and 4-2 about what were the transfers and how much. The petty cash was explained, I believe the compliance was, but there was several. I do have a question about 4-7. When it says the final on Greenbrier Boulevard roadway improvements, is that a completed project?
That means the project is completed.
It does. Good. I live at 18 Greenbrier Boulevard, you may remember. Can you tell me the completion date? Because I think it was years ago, and the potholes are reappearing.
Did you have any other questions, Ms. Cole,
I'll
while I
go
look for this
through.
information?
Just on that, and that is something that you can convey to me through the clerk or something at a future time.
If you have specific questions on one or two, we do have the paperwork here, and our business administrator, we'd be happy to assist you with your questions.
Well, I would like to know the details on what were the budget appropriation transfers, but for the future, I would like you to give detailed information and either not have a consent vote after each one, but giving information and then voting individually, or after you've given it all, it still can't be a consent unless you're going to vote yes on everything. And if you've never heard all of the facts, and you shouldn't have heard all of the facts until I hear it with the full council. So I think the consent agenda is not something to continue. I've had the argument before, but you have a new attorney who may find when his interpretation of Robert's rules is more in line with mine. So if you could tell me more about the budget appropriation transfers.
There is not a completion date in the paperwork that I had, but I can get in touch with our township engineer if you require one.
Just in the future, or I can call and get it.
Okay.
It just surprised me at this late date, since it's been a very long time since work was done. And by now, we should be starting to look at it again. Some
Miss
new things could
Mayor
be
Ducey,
added.
did you have something to add?
Yes, on that 4-7, that's the actual final order. It's for Greenbrier 1, Greenbrier Boulevard.
Okay,
not
that's
Greenbrier
not
2.
Greenbrier Boulevard.
That's what they call it. They
the
call it
Boulevard.
It says, I know what it says on the agenda, but the actual purchase order is the
Okay.
Boulevard. It's
I'm
Greenbrier 1.
just telling you that technically, you can strike out Greenbrier. That's Boulevard roadway then, not Greenbrier Boulevard. And thank you, and I haven't had a chance to publicly, officially congratulate you. I'm very happy that you are our mayor. And I will be speaking again.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I would like to add that our council members do get their packages a few days in advance. It may seem as though that they don't have many questions, but that is most likely because they've already spoken with our mayor or the business administrator or myself about any questions that they may have, and they may not think to ask them publicly. I know sometimes I have questions I already know the answer to, but I know that it may be interesting information for the public. That's why I ask a lot of questions. Yes.
I would like to make arrangements and speak with the attorney and Madam President, because you have committees, you get packages, you hear things, but until you sit as a body and each one mentions certain things and why they have this rationale, you should not have made up your mind how to vote. It's only when you hear, and that includes our comments, that you should come to a decision if something is good or bad. Be very happy to talk with the attorney and see if he disagrees with me. Would like for you and Mr. Starkey and I to talk together, since the telephone game doesn't work well.
Okay. We will set that up through the council office. Thank you. Anyone else from the public would like to be heard on our consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'll close and ask for a roll call.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontarero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Thank you.
Did I skip somebody or no?
We have an empty seat and Councilman Moore is not here. I know it seems like such a small crowd today. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask the clerk to read into the title of the resolution into the record for our bill resolution manual 2013.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $12,012,876.38.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Fosman, seconded by Councilwoman Pontorero. I'd like to open this to the public for any questions on Manual Bill Resolution 2013. Is that correct, 2013? Should that be 2014?
It should be 2014.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I see that it is correct on the actual resolution, though.
Yep.
No questions by the public? Questions from the council? Seeing none, I'll ask for the roll call, please.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to public comments. Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to Brick Township Administrative Code, Section 2-33B. Mr. Foster?
Sam Foster, 108 Chico Drive. First, I wanted to congratulate Mayor Ducey on your 100-day plan, started to say 100-year plan. I read it in the newspapers. It sounds very good. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
A couple quick questions. One is that my neighbor, I don't know who could answer this, but I was driving out of my neighborhood today. One of my neighbors has a black, it might sound like a minor point, but my recycling can is blue, and his was black. Does this mean that we're going to be getting new recyclable cans, or was it just a glitch that
No.
they came out blue, black instead of blue?
I'm not positive how they would have gotten a black one. We just ordered all of the blue cans.
It looks exactly like the blue one. Where the handle, it's not the black recyclable, I mean the garbage can. It's a blue recyclable.
It has the recycling emblem on the black can.
I didn't notice it had, that's a good point. I didn't notice if it said Brick Township on the logo on it, but,
All of our recycling cans that we ordered and
Should be
for
blue?
that purpose of recycling are blue.
okay, so I didn't see the logo, so maybe somebody bought it at the store or something. I didn't take a look at that. Second, another question was, two of them actually quickly. I'm a non-smoker, and I've had a big trouble with 3 restaurants in Brick Township where they allow e-cigarette, they've been allowing e-cigarette use. I don't know, I'm asking the council this because I complained in the restaurant. They told me that, that it's legal, but it's not legal. I checked with the state and the county health departments. And I don't know, when I called the police to complain, first the police told me it's not legal, and they're gonna send a car. I'm not gonna name the restaurants because I don't wanna get them in trouble. Plus, I still eat there, so I don't want them to do anything to my food. But, and then another time when the police actually arrived, they acted angry that I bothered them, and they said, no, call code enforcement. I told them, well, by the time code enforcement gets there, the smoker's gonna be gone. What am I supposed to do, take a photo of them? And, you know, so what is the procedure as far as, like, if I see someone in a restaurant, I bring it to the management's procedure, since maybe the council or the township attorney could advise me on this, because as a non-smoker, it does bother me, and like sitting right next to me. And is it something that, should I call law enforcement on, if it's something that I see and is being bothered by, or, because after the fact, going to code enforcement, and I know code enforcement closes at 5, I think, right?
If you're asking who typically enforces it, typically it's either code enforcement or the State Board of Health. In my experience, the police don't generally get involved with smoking in a restaurant.
Okay, so they would not issue a summons? That's not their responsibility to do that?
I don't believe they typically do get involved in that.
Okay,
no.
because like I said, if it's at night after 5, the code enforcement is closed, and the person is, you know, gone, so I don't have their identity to file a complaint against. I know they can be fined. Okay, I'll keep that in mind in the future. Like I said, I'm a non-smoker. That really makes me mad. And don't even get me started about the casinos and their nonsense, but my blood pressure's high enough already. Another, 2 quick things, if my time holds up. I had a power outage in Birchwood Park a couple days ago. Fortunately, the temperature was about 40 degrees outside, so it wasn't too bad. I went without heat for like 2 2 hours, JCPL got the power on very well, very quickly. However, we're in single digit. We're going to be single digits tonight, and yesterday was single digits. I know during Hurricane Sandy we had warmth shelters or heat shelters, whatever they're called, where people could go to if they without power. Does Brick Township have any plans like that? Not just for the next few days where we're going to be having this polar blast of air, but is there? What happens if our power goes out and it's like, like tonight, it's going to be like single digits and with no heat? Is there some place that any township resident, I can just put on like my, sleep in my bathrobe and my heavy wool socks and so there's not, but for people, kids and stuff like that, what, is there anything you can tell the township residents that have children or elderly people? Remember what it was like when my grandmother was alive, where we could go in town that would be like a heated shelter? Could they go to the municipal building and do you have cots here for people to sleep in? I'm talking about early morning hours, not during the day. What would the township have any
Well, I
plans
know
for
that during Hurricane Sandy, we had set that up here at Town Hall.
Yep.
If people lost electricity, if they had to charge their cell phones and whatnot. But for this cold snap, I'm not sure if we have anything set up.
If the situation presents itself where the EOC is activated and there is a major electrical outage or there's an area out, the police department on patrol would notify the front desk, and it would be up to the chief as the emergency management coordinator to actually open the EOC, and there is a station within the EOC that would handle sheltering facilities. So that captain or that would be in charge of that station would make that decision and set up the shelters at the appropriate locations. Typically, they're at the 2 schools.
Okay.
So we utilize Veterans Memorial Middle School, I believe, was a shelter, and last time with Sandy, and I believe we would probably utilize that facility again if the need arises.
The veterans thing. One quick question. I know my time is expired, but just a quick question of Mayor Ducey. Do you know when you're going to be appointing the new municipal judge? I read in the newspaper about Judge Lepore is still on the bench. He was made some kind of a ruling. There was some kind of a case that went before him. Because I go to court a lot for, because I'm starting to be a paralegal, and I'm in here as a courtroom spectator a lot.
Yep, judges have 3-year terms by statute, and he was just appointed in either June or July of 2013, so he'll be there until at least June or July of 2016, whatever the date is. It might be August too.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
2016, unless he decides to leave earlier.
Yeah, because he's a very good judge. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sklunka?
Good evening. I'm going to read my letter, of course. Only 2 more years. Dear Mayor Ducey, Council President Susan Lydecker, and all the members of the Brick Council, here's the change. Most of this letter is the one that was sent by email to the mayor and the council. With the rush, I only could send out the unfinished version, so I had to make copies for you, and I have them here today. This is my letter concerning the Parkway expansion from 3 lanes to 8. The Turnpike Authority may not feel that they have expanded that much, but those who live on both sides of the Parkway know that it is exactly what the authority did. The authority may choose to say that they had a minor expansion, but the effect on the lives of the thousands of residents in Brick Township who have been impacted, they understand the consequence of the authority's actions. The authority removed tens of thousands of trees and shrubs from both sides of the highway, along with the 50-foot of natural barrier in the center. The environmental impact on wildlife has been a catastrophe. Thousands of birds, squirrels, and field mice now make their homes in the attics and basements of the township's residential homes. Cars are struck by deer and other animals, which not only kill and injure the animals, but the damage to the cars has caused many injuries to the drivers and passengers. The ill-conceived plan was falsely labeled a safety project, but it continues to cause problems along the construction path. Besides the actual physical injuries that the construction has caused through traffic accidents, the untold story will be conveyed in years to come. Thousands of Brick Township children will have increased lung ailments with increased asthma conditions, bronchitis, and early emphysema. Studies will be made after the fact that will show that the significant ailments of the elderly, as well as the premature deaths caused by the volatile organic compounds that have attacked respiratory systems. all citizens will be impacted. Because if the authority chose to save money at the expense of people's lives, the authority has proven that they believe they can do what they want to who they want whenever they want. This big government agency believes they are bigger than the people and bully anyone who gets in the way. It is now 6 weeks since the governor told the chief of the authority to look into the situation and respond to our concerns, and the chief ignored the governor, just as she has ignored the common folks. The authority refuses to build a wall to lessen the noise and impact hundreds of residents all day and all night. Decibel readings from the ground range from 57 to 65 at most times, and on the second floor of homes it normally can run 10 to 20 points higher. The authority doesn't seem to care about hearing problems and the lack of sleep that have befallen thousands of residents, primarily women and children, who have better hearing than adult men. School children can't possibly learn as they should or be as attentive in class as they awaken during the night by the parkway throughout the night. Studies have shown that adult women can hear at lower noise levels than adult men, so it's understandable that men who work for the construction companies and the authority see no problem. But Veronica Hakeem, the authority's executive director, should understand the problems that many women have with this noise. Veronica Hakeem makes a good speech. She's a fine lunch speaker. She's a commanding personality, fluent, witty, confident, and obviously smart. She can be impressive, but as you drive home and after listening to her speak on safety and the need to stay focused on safety, you realize talk is cheap. On the parkway itself, you run off the road when you travel 10 miles above the speed limit. The noise of trucks and cars buzzing by reminds you just how the hardship of the noise on the residents surrounding the construction path of the parkway expansion. It makes you realize how pollutants are spilling over the thousands of Brick Howell Township residents daily. And with all the talk about safety, the authority ignores the residents and harms the lives and well-being of so many residents. Some of these citizens, after sleepless nights, get on the road, bleary-eyed and exhausted, trying to make ends meet while the government is almost helpless against another just big government agency. We must all stand together, because what the authority can do to a few thousand Brick residents, it obviously feels it could do to anyone. Once again, this is my letter. Basically, I saved you 10 seconds. But this is not a normal way of living, and I will give you all a copy of the letter, because, like I said, I expanded it from what I sent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And hopefully next time it'll be not email.
Thank you, Jerry.
I'll send it regular.
Thank you.
Does Councilman Wall want me to get back?
I can put it in his mailbox. Thank you. Ms. Call, would you like to?
Thank you.
Nan Call, 18 Greenbrier Boulevard. Once again, I have two other matters that I wish to call to your attention, and both of these were instituted during the completely unanimous Republican administration council doing. In fact, I will call your attention first to the year 2011, when there was a very bitter campaign waged. And that's when I met 4 of the council people. Well, one is now mayor. At that time, the council president was Brian DeLuca. He was the one that changed the order of the agenda so that residents' comments, or how is it phrased, public comments, do not come at the end. They put the council comments after the public comments. And I many times asked for that order to be reversed, that we the people deserve the opportunity for last comment, so that in addition to whatever was on the agenda or on our minds, anything that came up in the comments of the council or administration, we would have an opportunity to respond to and allow you to know how we feel. So I am renewing my request that you revert to the order that was in place when I first came to this town and until 2011. And it was done specifically to get back at me, and I use the expression that it's like a baseball game. I said that they got last up, last of the inning. There was a councilman, I won't mention his name here, but he said we always get last at bat. I purposely never said that, but that's exactly what they did it for, to take the bat to me and other people that they didn't like what we said. So I ask you to do that. The other is I have not had the time to follow through on writing to the mayor and or council about different appointments. I'm not looking for an appointment. But I know that a lot of the appointments and a lot of the committees that are formed are more or less a feel-good, and that's fine. Because some of them, it's not really looking for the public information. One of them that was formed by the Republicans and never had anything that I know of done and is totally useless except as another bat to swing, is the Architectural Committee. I don't think that we, the people who own our own homes, should be demanded to do what some group of people feel is in keeping. They set up that Herbertsville was historical, Mentaloking would be a marine-type atmosphere. I don't think you can enforce something like that. I would suggest you disband the idea of an architectural committee. As I say, they never did anything. It was done so people could hand out and let other people put it on their resumes and look impressive. So that's it for tonight, except that I look forward to meeting the one councilwoman afterwards and wish every one of you, I think you're going to do a fantastic job as long as you listen to we the people.
Thank you. Ms. Call, I'd like to give you a little information about the Architectural Review Committee, and it's nothing integral, but it is purely suggestive. It's not just for residents or homeowners, it is for businesses as well, to make sure that their main goal is to make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing. It's not wildly uncontrastable to the surrounding neighborhood.
Do you think that you really would stand a chance if a business or a homeowner decided they wanted to do something that was not in keeping? As you said,
We don't have to stand a chance because it's purely suggestive.
It's suggestive, and for that reason, you don't need the committee. When they go to the planning board can suggest these things to them. You don't need an SS officer going out. And you have to understand, I come from a community that has carried over the Architectural Control Committee that was meant to be disbanded. It's in the bylaws that when the developer left, so should the Architectural Committee. But they keep it so that 5 people, plus the 5 trustees, get a chance to dictate to us who own our own homes, our own land, and try to tell us what to do with our property. So I have more information on it. And again, the zoning, the planning, they can make the suggestions and tell particularly businesses, we'd really like to see a pattern, but you can't enforce it, so why have a committee? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rabocchio?
I disagree with Nan as far as the Architectural Review Committee. I was on it when it started, and it does do some good. It is an advisory committee, and things come out during that committee, which when it comes to the planning board, the information given to the planning board is much better, and it don't put a burden on the planning board. The planning board doesn't have to accept what the Architectural Committee advises, but it does help because when it comes to the Architectural Committee, it's usually in good shape, and very seldom does a planning board have to spend a lot of additional time to, during the planning board meeting, to go through the information. I think if you do away with the Architectural Committee, you'll be doing a disservice. During the Architectural Committee, and I was on it, I was actually the chairman when it first started, we came up with things like we had a big problem with mechanicals on top of roofs. And sitting on a planning board also, it would be missed. And then you would see a building with mechanicals on top of the roof. So you're going to do a disservice if you do away with the architectural committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to come up next?
Good evening to the new council, and I wanted to thank the council before that we actually have the forester from the DEP and someone from the Ocean County Planners is coming to our community on Friday to talk about trees. So that's at least a plus in the right direction. Of course, only one of us was invited. We're still working on that. That's might have been a comment on that. I found a case that was given to me by, it was the previous attorney's assistant. I actually inquired about something different, and they gave us this one. And what it was is, it's another case that went to court with the Turnpike Authority. And what it was, there were 3 different plans, and it got the blessing of the Commissioner of Environmental Protection and the governor. And what happened was the 3rd plan which they chose did not get an environmental statement done. So there was a big thing about that. So I'm hoping that in some way that applies to us, because the environmental statement that was done was inadequate. We were not covered. Our area in 2005 had a noise study that said a problem persisted and would persist as far as noise goes. And yet they didn't think cutting down 100 feet of trees that separated 8 lanes of traffic so that communities are going to hear and smell 8 lanes. They're going to get 8 lanes of fume and noise. They didn't, like, no one thought about this. And when I asked the DEP when he came to our community about it, I said, well, how come you didn't at least do like a noise study when so many people were going to be affected by this? And he says, well, you know, engineers are linear thinkers. And he never got back to us. No one's been able to get a hold of him. So I actually have the court case here, and so I can give you that. And I'm hoping that, like I said, that in some way it affects us, because I think that they were negligent by saying that because they're not adding, they say they're not adding volume because they're not putting a lane in. So that's kind of misleading, because they added more volume as far as noise goes because they took a partition out. But I don't think they have anything that covers anything like that. Plus they have exclusions for shoulder projects, and because they didn't they permitted them separately instead of together, they weren't required. They would have been required to do an environmental impact study in our area, and they didn't. And I found out that it was moved. The basin was moved, and I have documentation with that. And all of our stuff is being forwarded to the new attorney, correct? From that we've given you already. Okay, so I want to make sure. And I have here. Let me see. I'll just read this one paragraph real quick. It said, I actually wrote to Senator Menendez, and he forwarded this letter on to them, which I wasn't crazy about, but I got a lot of information from them. I asked them about, he said, the flood basin you referenced in your feedback form is one of the many water quality basins throughout the 17-mile length of the program mandated by New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection water quality regulations. During the permitting stage of the program, the New Jersey Turnpike Authority tried unsuccessfully to convince, we can believe that, the DEP that flooding was not an issue in this section of the Garden State Parkway because of the well-draining sandy soil in Ocean County. The New Jersey Turnpike Authority's position was that stormwater should be allowed to infiltrate into the ground as it does today without the need of removal for trees and the construction of basins. And the DEP said that they said the DEP they disagreed with them. The DEP, however, did allow the New Jersey Turnpike Authority to relocate several of the stormwater detention basins in the program away from residential areas. Public input offered at hearing in March 2012 was instrumental in that regard. These relocations resulted in a great reduction in number of trees that had to be cleared adjacent to the residential areas. In the feedback form you submitted to New Jersey DOT, you made reference to an area that was cleared in error. This was an area that was originally identified as a location for a stormwater basin, but the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection allowed the New Jersey Turnpike Authority to relocate the basin east to the median between the southbound and northbound roadways of the Garden State Parkway. At the time of the tree clearing activities for this construction contract, the New Jersey Turnpike Authority was still working with the DEP to modify the permit allowing the basin, so they didn't stop their people from cutting trees down. So we've never been able to find out how much more did they cut down than they were supposed to, because now they decimated everything. And in the permits, I'm almost done here. The permit that I got from your Ocean County Planner's Office, they said there was an untold number of trees. So they never disclosed to anyone how many trees were they going to clear cut, were they going to do as needed. There was never information. And then when there was an outcry, they were saying, well, of course we're widening the road, we have to cut trees down, and that was their excuse. So I think that possibly the DEP and the Turnpike Authority is at fault, but again, we're trying to find documentation. Was there an original list of basins? Can we find out where it was originally and where it got moved to, and was anything modified? Was anyone notified, that something was getting modified and how it was going to impact the community and allowed to comment, is what we're trying to find out. Because according to our association, they said that they thought it was going to be in a different direction, so I suspect that maybe, no one was informed of this. And I also have something else to give you. It's about what to expect and from getting a sound wall, which we're still trying to get a sound wall. I didn't sleep last night, so I'm sorry if I'm stuttering and I'm not speaking really well, but I woke up every 2 hours last night, so I apologize. And I can give you all this documentation that I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Could you give your documentation to our council secretary, and she'll make sure it gets to the proper place?
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't been up here before. My name is Jill Saluka. I also live in Evergreen Woods. I live on Judy Court. And I am going to read from this paper, okay? All right. I realized something was wrong the other evening when it was snowing out and I put my head on my pillow. There was silence. I didn't have to turn on the TV, a fan, or a white noise machine to go to sleep. The only occasional sound was a plow going by on the parkway. The plows were much louder than the prior years, but there were no other cars. This made me happy yet sad. Sad to realize that this is how it used to be when I first bought my house 10 years ago. It has now been over a year since this has begun for us. My windows are only 6 years old in my house, and I can hear the parkway throughout my whole house. All right, I can. The noise is much louder on my second floor where my bedrooms are. And when I get out of my car, I've noticed that when I pull up to my home, when I get out of my car, I sit there for a while, and I sit in my car, and I don't even want to go in. I don't even want to get out of my car. I don't even want to go into my own home because of the noise. Unfortunately, I'm in no position to move. If I was renting, I would have already left. This is the first house I've ever owned, and I haven't been convinced that owning another home is something I want to do again. I'm stuck with sleepless nights. I'm stuck trying to drown out parkway noise. This should never have happened. It should be against the law to leave citizens in this situation with no future plans to remedy the problem caused by the New Jersey Turnpike Authority. As you know, it's not only noise, it's also a pollution problem. Anyway, I wanted to make you all aware that in the past year I've talked to many people about the situation. The other day, a delivery man came to my door and assured me that it was noisy, and informed me that and I informed him that this was going to stay this way. And he told me that they're going to do the right thing in the end. They're going to put up a wall. All right. I informed him that there was no plans for a wall. He left, I think not believing me. There have been many others I talked to in Evergreen Woods that say the same thing. They just think someone is going to, in the end, do the right thing with apparently no coaxing and just put up a wall. They believe the government will just take care of us. I think they're counting on it. The other type of people I've met are those who think we are wasting our time. They believe nothing will get done and don't understand why we're wasting our time even trying. They have lost hope that they matter, and so they do not get involved. Both groups I've mentioned have one thing in common, and that is that they know that there is a problem, and they know that the situation has to change. I'm not sure what the decibel reading is on your pillow when you have everything turned off in your house, but on mine, the average is in the 50s and goes up into the 70s with my windows shut. So something needs to be done. A wall is probably the main solution to this problem, and maybe we get the governor down here to maybe change something. If he were to hear this, maybe he can help. I'm not really sure what else we can do, but that's all I have to say, so thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb?
Joe Lamb, 386 Wisteria Drive, and congratulations, everybody, on your election. Now that we have a new body, I was wondering with regard to Food Town property, they've got trucks stored on there and boats. You know, as bad as it looks without it there, the trucks and the boats, can we ask them to move that? Because it looks horrendous. You know, that's on a major highway running through town. It gives us a bad impression, so I hope you could do something about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else from the public like to be heard this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our administrative comments. Ladies, do you have anything for us this evening?
I did want to announce that Sunday, January 19th, from 10 until 12, we're going to have our annual rabies clinic at the Drum Point Sports Complex.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Pizarris?
Just with regard to the Food Town site, the state of New Jersey had requested that to be utilized as a temporary debris removal site. We're in the process of closing out that request. The few boats that are still left there, and there's one on the outside the fence on a trailer. The person handling PPDR and demolition, Trish Tataro from DPW, is going to be going out there with the traffic safety officer, pulling the VIN numbers from that, and we're going to be contacting the owners of those vehicles and trying to see if they want to try to salvage them or they just want us to take them. And we're going to be removing and decommissioning that site.
Is that all? Thank you. How about from our township attorney? Which is even in a worse position than I was in my other chair.
I'm back here, but I just want to say I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Ducey?
Thank you. For those of you who didn't hear my swearing-in speech on January 1st, I just want to let you know that I implemented a 100-day plan here for BRIC, and it is found on the website because I know in the past there's been, you know, you have a swearing-in or an inauguration and the president or the governor or the mayor or the council people are saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but then there's never any accountability for it, and nobody ever calls them back and says, wait a minute, you said back on January 1st you were going to do these things and you haven't done any of them. So the 100-day plan is posted on our township website, so everybody can go there. And as I am able to complete things with the help of everybody in town, we're going to check off each one along the way. And what I'll do is during the council meetings, I'll give an update as to what's being checked off and the way it's being checked off. So I just want to start off with that, is that I'm going to check off number 5, which is roll back all raises and promotions that were made in the final 90 days of the previous administration until they can be thoroughly reviewed. What happened is in the last 90 days, and there was a number of them made actually the day before Election Day, that Monday right before Election Day, there was a number of raises and promotions that were given by the prior administration. State law allows a 90-day rollback period. So I've rolled all those back until I'm able to get a list of who exactly got those raises or promotions and the reasons why, and I'm going to go over those with Mr. Brazaris and other members of the staff to figure out, you know, I'm going to reinstate the ones that are deserving and figure out the reasons why they were all given. And so that was already done. We did that as of January 1st to see, you know, exactly what went on, because it seemed like there was a lot of raises given on Monday, November 4th. Number 26. Rescind the executive order forbidding township employees to speak with council members. I think everybody's probably in this room is familiar with this, is that the prior administration had issued an order that none of the council members could speak with the department heads without going, all questions would have to go to the mayor or Mr. Brazaris, which really prevented a lot of give and take, obviously. We couldn't get information. I know Vice President Fosman and Councilman Moore had a lot of questions about DPW. They couldn't get the answers from Mr. Campbell, the director. And you know, there's a number of different issues. I know Ms. Leidecker, or President Leidecker, with the land use department. She was, you know, it was everybody's hands were really tied. So on January 1st, I made it effective that day. I actually did it as part of my speech. I rescinded that order. So now all council members, including the new council members, have full access to all the department heads. And you're free to contact them and get whatever information you need to. Number 32 is under economic development. It's to form an economic development committee to support our current businesses and to encourage new businesses to come to Brick. And I did form that committee. It's made up of council people. The chairwoman is Councilwoman DeYoung, also Councilwoman Mariana Pontarello, and President Susan Lydecker are part of that Economic Development Committee. And number 42, hold regularly scheduled mayor in and mayor out nights where residents can meet directly with the mayor as well as department heads to discuss their ideas and concerns. We're working on the mayor in night because we have to figure out a night where everybody's available. It'll probably be Tuesdays that aren't council meetings. But the mayor out nights have already been scheduled. There's already 2 that are scheduled. One is with the Eye Openers, which is a group of visually disabled citizens, as well as Greenbrier 1. So I'm going to be going to those to the meeting of Eye Openers and to the clubhouse of Greenbrier 1 to meet with those residents. And if anybody out there, one of the things I said, I wanted the mayor in, mayor out is mayor in office hours after 5 o'clock, so everybody who works regular business hours has an opportunity to meet not only with myself as mayor, but also with department heads. So it's a one-stop shopping where you come in, you know, maybe the problem is you wanted to have a different size recycling, or not recycling can, refuse can. And so you come in, you tell me that, I say, okay, Mr. Campbell's right out in the room down the hall. He'll take care of it. And it's a one-stop shopping after hours, so people have access to not only the mayor, but department heads who can actually help solve their problems. The mayor out is just basically that. Myself going on tour around the town wherever you want me to go, whatever clubhouse, whatever classroom, meeting halls, wherever. And like I said, we already have 2 of those scheduled. So that's another one being checked off. Finally, number 63 is form a Sandy Recovery and Mitigation Committee. We haven't had one that's separate. As council members, we had the Land Use Committee, and it was already busy enough with land use issues, and then we kind of lumped in Sandy on top of that. I know President Lydecker's been in charge of that committee, and it's been overwhelmed. So I want to separate Sandy issues and have them taken care of separately because they're different needs than just land use itself. And the chairman of that will be Councilman Mumolo, and the other members, Councilwoman DeYoung, as well as Vice President Fosman. So far, those are the 5 things I was able to go through in my first 6 days in office. It has been an eventful first week. I was sworn in on Wednesday. Thursday, I had invited Senator Menendez to come, and he had held a press conference here in our town hall right here at this podium in order to speak about the Biggert Waters Act, which is something that really is affecting anybody who's in a floodplain, but obviously those who are affected by Sandy. And what it's doing, the Biggert Waters Act is actually increasing your flood insurance substantially. The examples that were given at the press conference where there was one lady who actually pays $700 a year right now in flood insurance, and when she got her renewal, the renewal was $10,000 or $11,000 for her flood insurance. And Senator Menendez wants the other senators around the country to rally around this, because it's not only New Jersey who's affected, it's anybody who's in a floodplain. So whether you're on a river, you're just in a low level, out in North Dakota, anywhere around, obviously on the coast. So he came to town to speak about that, and I was very happy to have him, and definitely pledge my support behind Senator Menendez in delaying that, so our people in town who are in the flood zones, they don't have to, in addition to trying to rebuild their lives and rebuild their houses, have this huge increase on top of it. So that was Thursday, and then Friday we had the big snowstorm. And I want to commend DPW and all the employees that had helped clear the storm. They did an excellent job of clearing our streets and making them safer. I also want to thank all the residents for clearing off, taking the cars off the street so that the DPW workers could do their job. It's obviously tremendous help rather than trying to swerve around different cars that are still in the street. and everybody in Brick did a great job in doing that. We actually only had 12 complaints about plowing, which is great for a storm of that size, and 2 of those were from the same street, so it's really almost like 11 complaints. And a lot of those came in very early. They came in early in the morning, 8:30. So the guys were only out there for a few hours at that point. So everything was excellently done. And then since that time, we've had this, cold, and just in case anything iced over last night, before it got too cold, all the salt and brine was put down again. So that last night there wasn't any accidents due to any black ice or anywhere due to the fact that we had the salt and brine down. So all the employees and citizens all came together and helped out, got us through these couple storms, and hopefully there's not more coming, but it's only January 7th, so we still have a couple more months of winter. And thank you very much, and sorry for taking up so much time.
Thank you. Well-deserved time. Thank you for the information. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, hey.
Councilman Moore, I know you were running late from work. I'm sure there was a bunch of emergency calls for
Yes,
you to
there
handle
is.
today, but would you like to join us for council comments?
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. Very quickly, be careful out there. Sorry for being late. That had a busy, very busy day. Just a couple plumbing tips for everybody out there. If you know an area of your house that's having a hard time, or it freezes, run a little bit of water, whether it's the kitchen, and of course, just be careful out there. I had a long day, and also just a friendly reminder about your smoke alarms. You know me, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors. Be careful with your fireplaces and your heaters, extension cords. Make sure they're proper cords so nothing happens. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Councilwoman DeYoung.
Thank you, Council President Leidecker. I just want to thank the Girl Scouts for coming out this evening. They were adorable and did a great job, I think. Do they get a patch for that?
They have received a patch already for their local government.
Very good.
So,
awesome. Also, John, thank you for your Macri presentation. I know it's something that, I'll want to be working towards, and seeing the town go green is always very, very good for us, because it will, in the end, save us money, hopefully. So, Glenn and DPW and all the employees and everybody, great job. I mean, I live on the last house on a dead-end street, and my road was plowed twice, so thank you so much. Mayor Ducey, thank you for putting me on the Economic Development Committee as chair. I really look forward to working with the businesses to bring back, tourism, get some plans going, see if we can bring back some of the money that we need for our brick businesses, see if we can entice other businesses to come in and occupy the open storefronts. That's really what I think the Economic Development Committee is going to be focusing on a lot of. And then also on January 19th, not only is the rabies clinic going on, but the police explorers are having their open house here in the courtroom from 12 to 3. So if anybody's available, they can come in and meet with the officers here, or they could also get applications. You can reach either Patrolman Talty or Foley by calling 732-262-1666. So that's something else that's happening on the 19th. So thank you so much, and good evening.
Thank you. Councilman Mamalo?
I'd like to thank the Girl Scouts for their presentation and also the Macri presentation. That's all. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ponterera.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to particularly thank Mr. Hyphantis for his presentation. As a new council member, that information is invaluable for me, so I appreciate the time and effort that you took to make the presentation. Also, I want to thank as well troop number 892 of our Girl Scouts who came and gave the salute to our flag today. I had the occasion to speak to several of the Girl Scouts prior to the meeting, and I can tell you that they were very interested in what we are doing. Any opportunity that we have to have our young people involved in government in any aspect is very much embraced, especially by this council member. I was very impressed by the girls. They were very articulate, and one of them expressed an interest in being able to come up here and speak on their microphone. I assured her that by the time she was done with her education, my seat would be vacant. So thank you all for coming. Have a good night.
Thank you. Council Vice President Bosman.
Thank you. Council President. I'd just like to thank John for his presentation also, the Girl Scouts, Brownies for coming in. It's always glad to see the youth come into the township and do a salute to the flag or do a little presentation or something. I'd like to thank Mr. Campbell. He did a fine job putting the salt down way ahead of time, waiting for the 4 inches of snow, plowing. I know you got a standard day, you have to follow the procedure, and it really worked out well. Like Mayor Ducey said, there was only several complaints, and that went really well. And I was pleased with that, and I'm glad to see Mayor Ducey's 100-day plan coming into effect. It's falling in place. It's moving along nicely. For a few days in office, everything's got 5 things done already. That's quite a feat. And that's all I have, Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can see as being the last person to speak, many things that you want to say have been said maybe about 5 times already. But Troop Leader Nicole Nastasi happens to be my best friend. So I would be remiss if I did not say thank you so much for coming in. This is the second meeting as council president that I've presided, for their support to come in and help us lead us in the pledge of our flag. So thank you, ladies. Troop 892, you did an excellent job. This is the second time they've been with us. They were here last year as well. Many of you know I speak highly of the Macri Committee. I've held a seat there for the last 2 years, and I've been able to work closely with our chairman on completing some of these projects. And thank you so much for coming in and educating us and the public, and I look forward to working with you for another year. And I know we're going to achieve our goals, especially since they are listed on our new mayor's 100-day plan. We now have to complete those goals. So we need something else to check off that list. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. Have a happy, safe New Year. One other thing I did want to mention, I'm looking at my notes. The Visitation Relief Center are helping many, many people. Many of them Sandy victims that live right here in Brick. They are looking for blankets, for clothing, for sheets, and of course winter clothing, especially in this cold snap. So if there's anything you can drop off, they are on Mantoloking Road. They would appreciate your help. And if you're looking for counseling services as well, you can speak with Angela. She's with Hope and Healing, and she is located in the same building. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting is closed.